I strongly suspect that history will judge Yatseniuk more kindly than his current poll ratings. It's a tough job being prime minister of Ukraine. It's easier to be prime minister maybe in some Western European countries, which are more homogenous or smaller. Yatseniuk did make some important changes. He guided his ship through some dark and murky, stormy waters. Now, when the economy's bad and you have expectations after Euromaidan for a European standard of living right away, nobody can fulfill those. So on expectation management, Yatseniuk, his poor rating, I think it was something like 7% positive and 80-something% negative. I mean, that's his rating now. But if you look at Ukrainian politics, whether it's Yulia Tymoshenko, even Viktor Yanukovych, Leonid Kuchma, Volodymyr Lytvyn, all of these politicians have made comebacks. And so they're in power, they're out of power, they're back in power. And there's no reason why Yatseniuk could not make a political comeback at some point. Personally, I think he needs to, sit a little time out. He's going to turn next month, I think, 43 years old. He's still a young guy. He's got a lot of time ahead of him. And he started his career at 29. So, I take that back. He's actually going to be 41, I believe. So, he started his career at 29 as deputy governor of Odessa. Was at the National Bank. He bounced around. He's held pretty much every cabinet post possible. So he also did two things in negotiating his exit. Number one, he negotiated that there will be no new elections. So the vote with Groysman basically gives the government 1 year to perform, and then only after that can Groysman be dismissed under the Constitution. So no new elections till that would put us into spring, summer, maybe if they haggle over the elections, maybe autumn 2017. So that preserves his 81 member faction in Parliament, and that preserves his political power. So he's able to play kind of a gray cardinal behind the scenes role, which is important for him to maintain his influence. Now, it's going to be difficult. It's much easier to have power when you are the prime minister, not a former prime minister. But that being said, essentially People's Front will maintain its key status as the junior coalition partner. The other thing that Yatseniuk did, he fought very fervently for two ministers, Arsen Avakov at the Interior Ministry and Pavlo Petrenko at the Justice Ministry. So those were the two people he really fought for, and he said they absolutely, positively have to stay or I'm not going. And so he succeeded in getting both of them. And so that's quite interesting. So Avakov stays at the Interior Ministry. Obviously, there's some of the early reforms that the West, the U.S. and Canada have both invested in are the police reforms, the patrol services. And so that's one of the early successes of, this government. And, Avakov is a little more controversial. He had his spat with Saakashvili, which was just silly. There's some controversy surrounding Avakov, but he's going to stay. So that's very interesting. Petrenko is a childhood friend of Yatsenyuk's in his mid-30s. I believe he's 36 years old, 37. So young guy, sharp lawyer. He's going to stay. So Yatsenyuk's going to maintain some influence in some key posts, as well as he picked up the ecology ministry with Ostap Semerak as a new minister. Vyacheslav Kyrylenko stays in the government also as a deputy premier. So he's going to maintain some influence in some cabinet posts. It will not be him directly, but down the road, next parliamentary election, obviously he returns to parliament and probably some ministerial post. Look, regarding Groysman as prime minister, it is disappointing because, going back to the sports analogy, when you get your hopes up and you think the team's going to do one thing and then they trade away some of your star players, it's disappointing for the fans and it's disappointing for the country. That's not to say these people are not professional and they're not competent. They are. They're quite smart, quite accomplished in their own right. There won't be the romanticism perhaps of the previous government, but in terms of capabilities, they absolutely positively have all the capabilities to do a great job and to reform. Will they do it? That's the real question. It's always a question of will. So it's our great hope as followers and supporters of Ukraine that this new government will outperform expectations.